Well, members of Congress are as popular as skunks at a garden party. A new poll finding record high support for throwing out most incumbents. 67% of voters say they do not want to see most members reelected. These numbers are a big change from only 5 years ago. Let's bring in our panel. Ford O'Connell is the chairman of the Civic Forum PAC. He's the former director for rural outreach for John McCain's presidential campaign. And Doug Schoen is a former pollster for President Clinton. He's a Fox News contributor. Gentlemen, good to see you both. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, Doug, 67% say you're fired. Not you, but incumbents, most of them anyway. What do you make of that?
I make that there is a huge anti-incumbent mood that could put everybody in jeopardy, Rick, regardless of party. This isn't ideology. This isn't partisanship. This is just widespread anger with Washington, and people want change, and they want vast change.
Ford, as Doug said, this isn't partisan. I mean, if you take a look at the numbers, the breakdown, according to party, 58% of people who identify themselves as Republicans say that incumbents should be gone. 56% of Democrats, 53% of independents. They say it's the members, it's the members, not the institution. Why do you think that is?
Well, I do agree that there's a large anti-incumbent movement out there, but I do think this should be a wake-up call for Republicans, because most of them are saying that the gridlock in Congress is Republicans' responsibility. At least 40% of them, say that. And Doug rightfully knows, look, the final makeup of Congress is going to largely depend on the state of the economy on Election Day and who the eventual Republican presidential nominee is. And that's going to be the real key because of the down-ballot coattails of the presidential race.
Doug, 40% of the people asked blame Republican leadership for a lack of anything serious getting done in Washington, D.C. Why do the Republicans take such a hit there when it's the president is a Democrat, the Senate's run by Democrats?
Right, because the Tea Party has created a level of intransigence on the Republican right, which has basically permeated the House and the Republicans in the Senate. John Boehner, who's up on the screen now, and Eric Cantor are not really running the show. The voters understand that the Tea Party is, and while they want to reduce spending and cut the size and scope of government, they don't want inflexibility and intransigence, and that's what they're getting.
Ford, you want to respond to that John Boehner and Eric Cantor, the Republican leaders in the House, are not running the show?
Well, I think they're running the show, but to Doug's point, if the Republicans want to hold the House and win the Senate, they have to do two things. First, they have to refine their message on entitlement reform, regulatory reform, and tax reform. They have to show that promotes job growth. And when it comes to certain fiscal legislation in Congress, they're going to have to work with Democrats to push wise fiscal legislation. And if they can do that, they're going to hold the House and they're going to win the Senate.
You know, Doug, if I had $1 for every time I've had to say the words getting close to a government shutdown over the last 12 months, I wouldn't have to be sitting here as much as I'm enjoying talking to you both. But I think that's got to play a large role in all of this. People are fed up with hearing about the country being on the brink of a shutdown. And even today, the legislation that was passed is only a 2-month extension. What about getting something done for the long term?
Look, Ford is exactly right. We've got a 2-month extension, which is effectively meaningless. What it did was get us through Christmas without a shutdown or a government crisis. But bottom line, neither party is really offering entitlement reform, spending reform, tax reform, and a growth-oriented set of policies. If the Republicans do it or the Democrats, they'll get political benefit because the vast majority of voters in the center, independents, want political change, they want results, and they want constructive action. And frankly, they're not getting it from either side, least of all the Republican right.
You know, Ford, I wonder if there's a trickle down, perhaps, or a trickle up from the negative feelings towards Congress to Republicans who are running for president. Certainly no former member of Congress is as prominent right now as Newt Gingrich, who is trying to win the GOP nomination. Does his past in Congress somehow taint his run for the GOP nomination right now?
Well, it very well could, and I think that the Obama administration is hoping that they face Newt Gingrich in the general election because they want to play on that. Look, right now, Mitt Romney is best positioned to help the Republicans hold the House and win the Senate. But again, that's up to Republican primary voters to decide whether they want electability or a strong fighter who best represents their interests. But it's going to have a huge impact up and down the ticket. The good thing is, in the United States Senate, where we only need a net 4, we're only playing defense in 2 seats, Massachusetts and Nevada. So 2012 is certainly not going to be boring.
Doug, real quickly, does all this discontent speak to your latest efforts, which I didn't get directly from you, and we spent 3 hours together on debate night, but I had to read about it in the paper, your efforts to help form a group that could create a third party?
Absolutely. Americans Elected, AmericansElect.org is trying to have an alternative nominating process, Rick, that puts candidates on the ballot in 50 states with an online nominating process. It's even more important today, given the gridlock we've seen this week in Congress. So, absolutely.
Next time I want the scoop, okay?
You will. You'll get it first.
Doug Schoen, Ford O'Connell. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Enjoy the rest of the weekend and the holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.